We've just witnessed a crazy game week. Gameweek 9 was the second highest scoring week of the season. The highest scoring week was actually Gameweek 1, where the average scores were 69 points, and this week it was a little bit lower on 64. But I think the fact that Salah banged, Mason Mount, if you had him, great job, he banged as well, and then also Foden. So if you were fortunate to have all three, then you were really cooking this week. But yeah, so Greg, I know that you really killed it this past weekend, man. Talk us through that.
Hey Clyde, how's it going? Yeah, it was a really amazing week. We always spoke about wildcards, and a couple of weeks ago when I clicked the button, I said to you, usually my team that I change scores more points than my wildcard does, but this has been my best wildcard ever by far. I've gone from 266,000 in the world to the top 10k all the way to 7k. So I got 120 points this week. I got the captain right with Salah, who obviously had a massive haul.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then I just had I took a risk with James and Chilwell, and they both returned, and I had Foden. So it was just one of those weeks where everything went right. I think it's probably my biggest single game week score ever without a chip being used.
So you just missed Mason Mount in your team, and then you would have had every single player who hauled this week.
I think if I had Mount in my team, I might have been on for game week rank of first. It was like it was an insane week. It really was. And I still had a couple bricks here and there: Cancelo, Ramsdale, Zaha, Tony. But it's amazing if you take the right sort of risks on certain players, it really can turn out well. And obviously the captain choice this week was huge. If you got that wrong, Salah really did punish you. And I thought about Chilwell so much. And then after that first game when Chilwell hauled, it was so funny because a mate of mine messaged me and he said, did you captain Chilwell in the end? And because obviously he just scored 12 points. And I said no. And the problem is that even if I had, I'd be watching the game tomorrow with my behind the couch because I'd still be scared to watch the game. And it turns out that's my reasoning was exactly right. I mean, the man is just on fire at the moment, Mo Salah.
Well, I won't say I decided to bet against Salah. I just decided, well, I suppose if there was any week to try something different, it was this one because of the fixture, I suppose. And so I had Son in my team, so I decided, well, I have him, why not give him a try, right? There wasn't really, I won't say it was, I put much thought into it. It was just one of those. It was like, okay, you know what? There's really not that many options going around. I'm just going to stick it on Son as a differential this week and see how it goes. And it obviously didn't pay off. In saying that over there, yeah, I didn't captain Salah. Disappointed with that one, but I can't really complain about it because ultimately I made that choice, right? But I got 81 points, so actually 77 because I took a -4. And I saw a red arrow. So I think this week the safety score was something like 90. It was absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, it was a brutal week. And so yeah, that was about it. I brought in Mbeumo and who was the other one that I brought in? And Chilwell. I brought in Mbeumo and Chilwell for size and Grealish. And even though I took a hit, I just managed to get away with taking it because, Grealish finally gets a return after I remove him out of my team.
So always happens like that, huh?
Exactly. So he got 6 points, which I suppose is not bad in the grand scheme of things. It's manageable. And then Sai's got 1 point. So with the -4, that was effectively, I took a -11, you could say. And just Chilwell himself wiped out that deficit. And then Mbeumo ended up getting injured and taken off before 60 minutes. So he got 1 point. So I came out with a net of 2 points.
Will you just let me know who you're bringing in this week? Because I just want to know who's going to be injured for the following week.
Yeah, I keep on attracting these players.
It's crazy. Every time you make a transfer, the player gets injured within 45 minutes.
Oh,
it doesn't even last a half.
Exactly. Or like Armstrong doesn't play. James, all of them, all my transfers. Yeah. And it was so frustrating watching James get 13 points after. Yeah, but anyway, so it was that, and then even the previous week, I've been speaking so much about taking hits, and 2 weeks in a row now I've taken a hit, and I've come out with exactly a +2, because the previous week Armstrong didn't play, but Son got 9 points. And then the two players that I removed was Ronaldo and MacArthur, who only scored 3 points in total. So 3 plus the -4, it was effectively a -7. So I've managed to get away with it twice. I'll see if I could get away with it for a third week in a row, if I'm feeling a bit spicy with my transfers.
Yeah, sometimes those hits pay off, but it is difficult. You really have to get them right, because it can be quite costly.
No, definitely. But look, in this case, I said this is Chilwell. The fixtures just look too good. I feel that and look, like I said, previous week Son, this week Chilwell, they both kind of wiped out those deficits and given me a little bit of a plus. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that there. And the other thing I'd like to talk about is, I think this weekend these results have really caused almost like mass hysteria in the FPL community. I've seen so many people lose their minds and just lose their shit over the last few days, and it's amazing how missing out on a captaincy haul, what it can do to people. And it's it's almost like people have reduced it to, if I want to say, looking at the game week and saying, oh well, I had a bad game week because I didn't captain Salah. Well, we were talking about it off air as well, and we were saying, what, if you're relying on a captaincy for Salah to say you have a good week, then you know what, maybe there's a fault with the rest of your team, because, I look at my team specifically, right? I'm sure, there's somebody else who has a similar team to me. The difference is that instead of Rafinha or Mbeumo, they have a Mount or a Foden in their team. And even if they had a captaincy blank, they still hit 100 points. I got to 81 points and my captain Son blanked. So, in a normal game, we could say, okay, 80 points is all right. But I think people are oversimplifying the impact. Like, yes, Salah did do damage to rankings. There's no doubt about that over there. But just, putting your game week on Salah alone is, I think, it's an oversimplification. In my case specifically, I had players like Antonio, Gray, and Jimenez all return as well, So, without their returns, even a Salah captaincy would have been watered down as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's amazing how people, I think they see that captain armband and the 48 points underneath the guy's name, and they think that their season's over, and everyone starts to panic. But what people don't realize is that, it's such an insanely long game that we're playing. It's 38 game weeks. It's almost a year of our lives that we spend, tinkering and so much time and effort goes into it. And in the end of the day, they're going to be these massive swings along the way. But there was a guy I think a few years ago who won FPL, and he was, I think, with like 8 weeks left, he was something like 150 points behind the leader, and he ended up winning the whole thing. So it really is important to remember that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and one game week of getting the captain wrong it's probably not even a wrong decision. You're just on the bad end of variance. If you went for a Chelsea player and it didn't come right, they scored 7 goals, and you just got unlucky that your player didn't score. If you went for someone else, you just got unlucky, because as long as it was an informed decision, there's just such massive variance on a weekly basis. So my advice to everyone would be just don't make any rash moves. Have a look at your team, make sure that you've got the guys in there that you want, and if you don't, just slowly change it to the guys that you do want. But don't do anything crazy, because not compounding your mistakes is the most important thing now.
Yeah, don't take unnecessary hits and now start playing for team value and stuff like that. And what people don't realize as well is like, if you look at Sunday night's price rises, Salah, Mount, Foden all increased in price. And I'm thinking, but people, there's a what you call this, EFL Cup ties or Carabao Cup or whatever you call it, and in midweek, and what if injuries happen to theirs? Like the bigger teams, maybe the bigger clubs, they won't play their first team players. But what about your support staff as well, like the likes of a Brentford and so on, So I think
we've seen already news tonight that Aspilicueta's got an injury.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, so that's just come out. So so I mean, really, like it's not just the games that you got to worry about. It's things that can happen in training. It's maybe knocks that guys picked up over the weekend that no one really saw.
Yeah.
And it's really important to wait for those press conferences at the end of the week. Not worry about 0.1 million here and 0.1 million there, because at the end of the day, having to take a -4 point hit is huge. So wait for those press conferences and wait for the news to come out on who's fit and who's not, and then make an informed decision.
Yeah, and I think we've mentioned this so many times, but if there's any season where you don't need to worry about price changes, this season is probably it, because there's only one premium who's really firing. So that means you don't need to be having 2 or 3 double digit players in your team. So this past weekend I had like 3 million in the bank. I have 3 million in the bank right now because I haven't made any transfers yet. The previous week I had like 1.5 million in the bank as well. So I mean, it just shows that, like, if you can keep money in the bank, which is very much possible this season, then you really don't need to be worrying about any price rises either.
Well, let me let you into little secrets. I just got probably my biggest game week score ever. And you know what my bank balance is? 5.2 million.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah,
I mean, that just
amazing.
shows you,
Yeah.
It just absolutely shows you that you don't need to be spending your whole budget. I took out Lukaku and brought Tony in, so I've got a massive 5.2 million just sitting there doing nothing at the moment, and I scored 120 points.
Yeah, exactly. And the flexibility that offers you as well over the next few weeks to jump onto a 1 or 2 week punt or whatever the case may be means that you probably don't need to even look at the price changes for the next few weeks if you chose not to.
Well, I'll tell you what, my fingers are itching to click that transfer button to get Son into my team, because I really am. I'm scared to watch any more Spurs games without Son in my team. He really has looked fantastic.
Against Sundays, if Sunday's game was any evidence, it's not much to go by, but he did miss a good chance in the first half, I think. Yeah.
It's interesting because I mean I think that's probably the first time I've ever seen him miss a chance like that, and it's you just expect him to put it away in the bottom corner like every single time, and just this insane conversion rate. But
it's crazy.
Yeah,
and it just shows such small margins. I mean, if that goes in, okay, all of a sudden that goal is worth 10 points, and when Son scores, it probably means bonus points as well.
Yeah,
I could have probably easily hit 10 points and collected another 14 points or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden my game week, even though I missed out on the captaincy hall of Salah, your game week just looks so much different all of a sudden. So yeah, and so yeah, man, and. Well, you know what? I suppose last week was a lot to take in, but let's look forward to game week 10. Can you believe it? And so, yeah, man. Now, we were talking about captaincies last week. Is it much more straightforward of who the captaincy pick is, or the king captaincy pick is this weekend?
Well, I think there are not too many who are going to sway from Mo Salah this week. I think after being burned last week. And again, in the numbers, we spoke about it last week, his numbers are just so unbelievably far ahead of everyone else. And this week is no different. For me, I think the sort of closest any other players will come this week is probably some of the City players. Grealish, Foden. I like Foden at the moment with his. I mean, we've spoken about him before, but he really seems to be in form. So I think Foden would definitely be a pick for me. Gundogan is an outside pick coming back from injury. He looks like he's back in the side. And there's always the forgotten man, and old Sadio Mane. He was rested last week, so. I think a few people have mentioned slight concerns that Salah might get rested. I don't think it's too likely, but you kind of have an outside shot with someone like Sadio Mane if you really want to look at something spicy this week.
Oh, imagine Mane as a spicy pick. Who would have thought that would be? You think he's a legit pick, right? But I suppose, look, you know what? I realize I've been playing the spicy pick game wrong all season. Now it makes sense that anybody but Salah is the spicy pick.
Oh, exactly. I think that's how the rest of the season's going to be. I mean, are you brave enough / stupid enough not to go with Mo Salah?
I think like the only times, okay, well, it seems like I've got away with it for the most part so far. Like Gameweek 1, a lot of us captained Bruno, but Salah kind of matched him, so either way we were fine. In Gameweek 3, I captained Son, and both Son and Salah scored exactly the same. And I think it was just this past weekend and the game against City that I didn't captain Salah. Apart from that, over there, I can't remember who I captained in that game week against City, but all I know is this one was the most costly, you know. But yeah, look, it seems like everybody's set on the idea of Salah being this permanent captain at least for a very long time, which means that, I mean, going back to what we were talking about earlier, everybody's gonna have to be really smart with how they go about managing the rest of their team, making sure that they're picking, you know, players for the, you know, targeting the right fixtures. Once captaincy comes out of the way, you know, your team management just becomes so much more important as well.
Yeah, the margins are much smaller when there are fewer big swings when it comes to these captain picks. You know, one of the sites on Twitter this week released their, you know, which one of their users had scored the most captain points the whole season, and then they said, can anyone beat this? And it was like 250 points or something crazy. And then they actually replied to their own tweet and they said, oh, we've just realized that he just captained Salah every single game week. And when you opened up the picture, he literally triple captained Salah the first week and captained Salah every other week. And he'd scored the most points out of anyone basically any one of their users. So it just shows you that, is that something that you really have the balls to go against? I think you're gonna have to pick your fixtures very, very, very well. Maybe when Liverpool are playing Chelsea or City, those are the only two games that you would really consider not captaining Salah, just because he's probably not going to score a hat-trick, you know?
Yeah, I suppose I should ask for my triple captainship back from the previous week and ask if they can just push it to
just 1 week further. Yeah. Jeez, you would have been a very happy man.
That's 72 points. Somebody did it. So one of those screenshots I saw had Salah as the triple captain with Foden and Mount in the same team.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure that's a casual player because I have my doubts that person is serious, because no serious player really would triple captain Salah in that fixture. And the other thing is, very few serious people have Mount either. So those were the two red flags for me.
Yeah, he was almost a forgotten man until he just popped up. And
he wasn't even playing the previous weeks that much, you know. So yeah, look, I suppose he was better than the Kai Havertz bandwagon that started on Friday. So
yeah, that's one that I didn't really understand. I must be honest.
I didn't understand it either. I couldn't get my head around that. But
I was if I was going to captain anyone, it was always going to be Chilwell. Havertz never really even came into my thought process.
Yeah, exactly. So now looking at Game Week 10 fixtures, so the first one is Leicester and Arsenal, right? Now Leicester seem to have a bit of a resurgence. They've won 2 games in a row, and for a change they decided to only concede 1 and not 2 goals for you know, and you know, Schmeichel spoils me this past weekend. He only conceded 1 and he got three saves, so 1 point for 3 saves. So yeah, I got 3 points out of him, you know.
Now it's like 3 game weeks worth all at once.
Yeah, all at once. So yeah, I still can't believe how badly that one they went. But Leicester and Arsenal look good against Villa as well. I mean, quite a few people took punts on Smith Rowe and so on. Now, I mean, what do you make of this fixture? Because it seems to be 2 teams on the up at the moment.
Yeah, look, I think it's sort of middle of the road in terms of predicted goals for this one. Arsenal are 28% to keep a clean sheet, and Leicester are 22%. It looks sort of like a 1-1 draw to me. Leicester have looked a hell of a lot better with Iheanacho back in the team. I don't understand why he hasn't been starting from the beginning of this after he had such an amazing end of the season last year. So yeah, they look a much better team with him around. Arsenal, they projected to score 1.5 goals, and Leicester 1.26. So it's going to be, I think a pretty close affair. You're looking at 1-1, 2-1 type of result.
So Yuri Tillemans has turned into a goals machine now. He scores. It seems like he just deals with crackers every week, right?
He's like a sniper, right?
Yeah, man, it's absolutely insane. But yeah, look, it just feels like one of those where you want to go for him. I'm just putting it out there. If anybody's thinking about getting Tillemans, please. It's a trap. It's not gonna work out.
Yeah,
Look, maybe that will be my famous last words, But nah, man, it's just one of those where you just can't rely on him. But interestingly now, Vardy got injured, so we don't know if he'll play or not this weekend. And he was quite heavily transferred in. I think he was the most transferred in player, or was it Chilwell? I can't remember. But it's going to be interesting to see, because if people will decide to go for Iheanacho, or if people might decide to try and go for Patson Daka as well.
Yeah, look, you don't really want any like sort of short-term picks. So I would think that Iheanacho, we're still not 100% convinced he's going to start every game. So there's some big rotation risk there. His numbers haven't been, they're not fantastic, yet. So
Leicester
I'm not really
in general,
convinced.
and even Vardy himself. We've spoken about this before. He's a stat buster anyway, but Leicester's numbers in general aren't looking that good either.
Yeah, I think if there's anyone you want from Leicester, it's Vardy, and that's probably where it starts and ends.
Unless you like me with Schmeichel, then he's my set and forget goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'll take the rap for that bad advice early on.
No, dude, it's like I completely understand, because even when I looked at it and I saw those fixtures, I'm like, yeah, I can see a few clean sheets here and
those fixtures looked really good, and then the defense
really
just
amazing,
absolutely crumbled. It was another Clyde transfer in special.
I've been breaking players all over the place. Yeah, and then Arsenal now. There's some interesting picks. Naturally, there's Smith Rowe, which I think we discussed him a few weeks ago, and we weren't too keen on him. But now, look, when somebody puts up numbers, you have to at least, speak about them. And then there's Aubameyang, who is just below 10 million. He's had a price drop or whatever. What do you make of the Arsenal picks at the moment?
Yeah, look, I'm not seeing the Arsenal picks as ones for me. If I look at Smith Rowe, I think he's around 102nd on my model, and Aubameyang, he's sitting at 41st, and with his price tag, that's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Really, that's just for the next 6 game weeks. So, yeah, for me, I'm still on a hard avoid for Smith Rowe. I'd far rather have a guy like Mbeumo. Rafinha, there's just and then the other guy that's really popped up, if he starts playing, is Leon Bailey from Aston Villa.
He's an interesting one. Yeah,
if he gets some starts, I think between those three, Bailey's been injured pretty much the whole season. Every time, the first game he kind of got into it, he got injured again. So
now that he came on against Everton, he smashed it for 20 minutes and then got injured and went off. Yeah,
exactly.
And then so no, he's a very exciting player. If he stays fit, I think I definitely have, probably make him my 7th attacker or something like that.
Yeah, it's 6.4 million. You can't go wrong. So. Yeah, I think they're just far better options, and Aubameyang I don't even need to get started on. It's just absolute waste of money at this point.
Yeah, all right. And defensive options from Arsenal, will you still look at any one of those?
Look, I've got Ramsdale. I think he is probably the best value goalkeeper, and that's again I'm not looking at anyone else. There's just so many other options at the moment. The defenders are bringing in huge returns. So for me, I'm really going for the targeting the big 5 when it comes to who I want in defence. I've got Trent, Chilwell, James, Cancelo, and Livramento. So I've literally got the big five, because now, I mean, Livramento must be in there, right?
The templatest of template defenses.
Exactly.
That's about it.
And I mean, and then they scored like almost 40 points last week. I had Livramento's 9 points on the bench. Imagine I'd been able to use that as well.
Awesome, amazing stuff. Yeah, that's Livramento is just such gold, and he hit the bar just before he could score that goal. It was crazy. I mean, imagine 2 goals in one game. Wow, that would have just set everything on fire. Yeah, and then Brentford and Burnley. Now, I think Burnley, the less said, the better. But Maxwell Cornet, I mean, he looked good, right? I mean, he seems to be one of those where the numbers probably in a Burnley team will never be great, but he seems to be one of those where you feel like he's going to be involved in a lot of goal involvements for Burnley, at least from the eye test, at least.
Yeah, I think he does look good. It's just a question of how many goals can Burnley score. And, you know, I think that's why, you know, their opposition this week is far more interesting. Like, jumping on Brentford assets now really does make a whole lot of sense. You know, they've got
yeah,
Burnley,
those next
Norwich,
3 games, the big 3.
yeah,
in
Burnley,
terms of
Norwich, Newcastle. I
Yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
then you've got Everton at home afterwards, and Everton just got 5 from Watford. So, really, really great fixtures coming up. Brentford have looked so good the whole season. Now's their chance to convert that. So, I think, you know, it's really interesting, because right at the top of my model, in 4th place, you'll never guess who it is, but Tony at 6.5 million, he's actually ranked 4th. So for the next 6 game weeks, just because of how good those fixtures are, and just because of, you know, he is producing the numbers, and he certainly produced them in the championship last season. So I think he's going to be the guy that you'd be. I'd actually be very scared not to have Son or Tony in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I've also got him on my short list, if you want to put it that way, because I have an Adam Armstrong shaped problem in my team now. So, like, it doesn't look like he's going to get his place back anyway. And so, yeah, and I've got the money to do it. There's a few that I've shortlisted, which I'll go through now, but he's definitely high up. Well, him, Wilson, Foden. And then also I don't have City defenders at the moment, and that might cost me if they do keep a clean sheet. But so those are kind of like the players I'm looking at. I at least want to get those bases covered, and I think I'm sorted. But yeah, this run of it's so interesting that Brentford and Chelsea just played each other like 2 weeks ago, and now they have the same combination of 3 teams, you know, the big 3 in FPL over the next few weeks, which is quite nice from a planning perspective as well.
Yeah, it's nice when you get these little bunches of good fixtures, and you can actually make you know, some transfers that you probably wouldn't have been able to had it been broken up.
Yeah. So that's why I'm looking to maybe double up on Brentford over the next few weeks and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan with Tony and Mbeumo. You know, if he's fit, then yeah, at those price points, it's just nice to have a stronger bench anyway. So even if you're not able to play them in your starting 11, it really helps your overall squad.
And from the goalkeeper perspective, there's David Raya as well. So
yes.
He at 4.6, 4.7, whatever. Yeah, he becomes a good option as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, you know, Liverpool and Brighton. So now, I mean, Brighton were looking resolute in defense at least for a long while, and then they played City and they really got battered. And, you know, when I looked at that, the way City were playing, they looked so amazing. I thought that performance could not be topped this weekend, and then Liverpool came along, right? But do you see more of that type of situation for Brighton this upcoming game week?
I just don't think there's a team in the world that can stop Liverpool right now. That you're not going to. The only way you beat Liverpool is score more goals than them, because you're not going to stop them from scoring. You're not going to get a clean sheet very easily.
And it seems like Liverpool have found a way to start breaking down teams who even try parking the bus or disrupt play. Like if you look at Atletico Madrid as well, I think the only team that they've really struggled against was Chelsea this season. when especially that second half with playing against 10 men, but that was an ultra defensive performance, but apart from that over there, I think they've really found a way. So yeah, even though Brighton's numbers were fairly good before that defensively, I think I mean, we've spoken about it. Salah captain, I mean, in between all of this, Trent has flown under the radar. He's got another double-digit haul this the season. He reached 10 points as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting because before this fixture run actually came up, obviously I was playing my wild card, and I thought, do I want Trent? I've obviously got the good Watford game, and then I've got United. It's not a great fixture. And then I looked at the numbers of my model, and I was like, my model's telling me it's not a bad fixture for Trent. And even though his clean sheet's not going to be that high against United, the guy's going to return some points. And that's the thing with him, is his attacking ability is just so huge that the clean sheets are almost like a bonus. It's almost like you get this extra 4-point bonus plus bonus points plus everything else that comes along with it. He's just an absolute machine. There's just no ways that you cannot have a guy that good in your team. It's also one of those scary things to not have Trent in your team at the moment.
And I mean, just looking at the numbers over here as well, I mean, I'm just seeing out of the 9 games, he's played 7 of them so far. He's only blanked in 1, which was Brentford. Even the game against Chelsea, where we didn't keep a clean sheet and he didn't get an attacking return, he ended up picking up 2 bonus points in that game. And you're talking about 7 appearances, and so 7 appearances and 3 double-digit hauls. I mean, that is just insane, man. It's absolutely incredible returns. I mean, I'm looking at these numbers. He's probably the best value player in the game right now.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, look, his price tag is not small. Okay, it's a decent price tag he's got, but it's so worth it. There's a reason there's that price tag there. He is by far the best defender.
I mean, if you look at any midfielders in that price range of 7.5, 8 million, he's outscoring all of them anyway.
Well, I mean, he ranks 6th overall in my model. I mean, the only guys ahead of him are Foden, Tony, Mane, Son, and Salah. I mean, and those are the guys that are the big haulers, you know what I mean? So
those are guys challenging for golden boot and stuff like that. So I mean, most often those are like the top scorers in the team, so I was just looking like among all of this talk of all the big hauls this week, Trent just consistently keeps on giving. It's absolutely incredible. And so in terms of doubling up on Liverpool forwards now, do you think it might be worth taking a punt?
Look, I don't think there's any need to do that. I think the problem is that between Salah and Trent, all the bonus points are pretty much sucked up every week. So you start to go for other Liverpool attackers. I think that's why a lot of people have sort of, Jota's been scoring points, but he never really you never feel, you always feel a little bit like almost empty with Jota, even when he scores points, because he's just never going to get you those bonus points. He's never going to get you, those massive hauls that you're going to be getting with Salah. And with Trent. So I think if as far as I'm concerned, I think you stick with those 2, and then you try and give your side a bit of balance, because as amazing as Liverpool have been, there's going to be that game week where something strange happens. There's a brick. There's something just a ridiculous week. We see it all the time, and that's where you need the balance of other players from other teams.
Definitely. Now, I agree with you there, because I could see naturally after these type of games, people look to try and double up or whatever. But I must say that was the one big piece of advice or something that I've learned of you this season, is where just do not try and double up on. Well, we have the situation now with Chelsea or City defenders where they're so good that it makes it worth it. But in terms of the attackers and so on, I've not seen the value of doing it so far this season anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
And Brighton, look, shame, not this week. I mean, if you've got Sanchez and maybe you've got another keeper to rotate with, try doing it, I suppose. He might be in for some save points maybe, but that will offset his minus points, but that's about it, really.
Yeah, I'd say if you've got a Brighton defender, you just got to hope that he doesn't get auto-subbed into your side somehow.
Yeah. And then City versus Palace. Now, Palace have looked quite resurgent. I mean, Benteke probably could have got 6 goals himself. He only scored 1. I mean, I watched that game. I don't know if you watched it as well, but he was extremely wasteful. His finishing was so bad, yet he scored, and then right at the end he scored another one, but it got disallowed and for a foul in the box from a set piece. Now, yeah, it's so well. Look, I just thought I'll throw this in there. It was useless information anyway against Newcastle. But City versus Palace. This should be an interesting one because Palace have looked okay, not convincing by any means, but this is going to be a huge test for them.
Yeah, look, this is going to be, I think, another very one-sided affair. We've got, City are projected to score 2.6 goals against Palace. So I think Crystal Palace have a 7% chance of a clean sheet this week. That's pretty low. I think we're going to see a City wipeout. You definitely want to be targeting. Hope you've got to play a bit of Pep Roulette if you're into that. For me, the Foden is the clear pick at the moment, and probably Gundogan I would say is the guy that I'm certainly considering as the next option, because great price, seems he was definitely nailed on last season, and I would think that's not really going to change this season once he's fit. So and ability to score like we saw last week. So in terms of City assets, it'll be those two, and then obviously in defence you've got Cancelo and Diaz who are the main options.
Yeah, I got so lucky because what I do is I use the live FPL or the game site during the game weeks, not to check my overall ranking, but to see what impact those players are having on my ranking. Yeah. And I don't have any City defenders at the moment, and I've wanted to get one in for weeks, but there's always some other fire that I need to put out. And I tell you that the clean sheet wipeout was the difference between seeing a red arrow and swung me back to a green arrow. That's how brutal it would have been. I mean, I would have already been seeing red on Saturday, let alone the Salah captaincy haul. So yeah, man, it feels like that's the one glaring gap in my squad at the moment.
Yeah, if I was going to go anyone, I think Cancelo is the man.
He looks nailed at the moment.
He looks nailed at the moment. I think it is. I think he'll probably play 9 out of 10. There will be the odd rotation, but we've spoken about that already. That's going to happen across the board this season.
But he's the main man right now.
He's the main man for sure.
And then Newcastle and Chelsea. Time to captain Havertz again, I think. Because But yeah, how unfortunate. So 7 goals, 14 goal involvements, and 0 for Havertz. How does that even work?
It's quite incredible. I mean, can you imagine being a Havertz captain, logging on and seeing the score 7-0, and you're giving yourself fist pumps already, and then you open up the details, and he's got no assists.
Apparently, he was the only outfield player to not have
a return.
I need to go and check that for myself, but I can't believe that. That's incredible. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it really is mad.
Wow.
But I think if you've got Havertz, I wouldn't be rushing him out. I think definitely. I think you've got some really good fixtures coming up. Newcastle and Burnley. You've played. That's the choice you've made. Now give him a chance. At least give him the three games to try and get you something. Switching to Mount from Havertz, I think you're making
it's a trap.
It's a trap. You're chasing points. Rather just stick with your decision and use your transfers elsewhere, and hope that Havertz is the guy that returns this week.
Yeah, and then you look, Wilson still looks great value. Obviously, I think if you want to bring him in, maybe just not this week, but look, he's the guy who it looks like if anybody is going to score. I mean, we've spoken about this so many times. he's involved in such a high percentage of Newcastle's goals.
It's truly incredible. I mean, I brought him straight back into my wildcard
and
team,
he scores
and
twice.
he scored each week. And like we spoke about, he's not going to. He doesn't necessarily score the hat tricks, but every week you log on, you check your points, and Wilson scored a goal. It really is amazing. And look, he's got a tough run coming up. They've got Chelsea, Brighton, Brentford, which I think is going to be a tough game, and Arsenal away. And then the fixtures start getting juicy. Norwich, Burnley. So I think if you
so he's playing Norwich and Burnley. So the big three are playing. There's some relegation 6 points as well.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, no, look, and look, you wouldn't even put it past him getting a few returns against. Okay, maybe Chelsea not so much, but even those games against Arsenal and Brighton and so on, really he might be in with some returns as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is for me, I've got him in my team, so I'm going to hold him. I'm going to bench him this week against Chelsea just because of how good their defense is. But I'm going to be holding him and playing him in game week 11 onwards. And if you don't have him, I think certainly you should be targeting game week 14 as a big player to consider, because he really is a class act.
Yeah, brilliant. And then Watford and Southampton. What the hell happened there? Josh King decided, he's going to turn into a prime goal poacher and just absolutely smashed Everton. Man, it was something really, really weird. I don't know what.
That was a real surprise result. It was crazy, but I mean, look at Ranieri having an impact straight away. I mean, baptism of fire with Liverpool the first game, and then
he goes and scores 5 next.
Then he goes and scores 5 the next game, and like you've got to hand it to some managers. Just have this magic about them, and I think for me, he's definitely one of them. Yeah,
definitely. And look, I mean, there's still some attacking assets there. Emmanuel Dennis, Ismail Assar. Josh King now, since we need Josh King, that's what we do in FPL. But over the next few weeks, I suppose we can keep an eye on them as well and see if the numbers that they're putting up is good. Then we can consider some budget options there as well.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be rushing to get them in just yet. Watford Southampton's going to be a pretty low scoring game. We've got Southampton at 34% for a clean sheet.
We've got Livramento there, so that number just goes up anyway.
Exactly. Watford at 21%, and Watford are only projected to score 1.09 goals. So you're not exactly targeting Watford assets, and Southampton, I think, are 1.54. So it's going to be a very low scoring game.
Yeah. And then another budget option has emerged in Southampton, by the look of it, for 5 million is Armando Broja, who scored two in a row now. He picked up a knock and he went off, but I think he should be fine. But I mean, there's just, it looks like every week we talk about budget options, but it seems now that we can't even call them budget options anymore when it's normal for all the main players, or not main players, but for them to be so cheap and effective at the moment. It's just quite incredible. This season we in terms of value, it's just been giving us.
Yeah, there's huge value at the moment, and I think, like we spoke about, I think I wouldn't be rushing for a guy like Broja just yet. Definitely Tony is top on my list. So at a similar price point, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and then Spurs and Manchester United now. Wow, I don't know what to make of this one here, because both managers are really under pressure at the moment. And I mean, I've got Son from there, so obviously I'm interested in this fixture, you can imagine. But what do you make of this fixture over here? It's probably one of those where I look at it and I would think Spurs at home probably have to be favourites. But looking at maybe the lack of creativity from Spurs as well, I wonder if that may hurt them, considering that though United haven't been great, but they're still capable of scoring.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals in this one. It's projected pretty high on the goal list. United 26% for a clean sheet, Spurs 21%. So I think we'll see some goals, and Spurs at 1.33 expected goals, and United 1.58. So Yeah, look, I don't think. I think both defenses are pretty much in disarray. So I probably favour Spurs' defence over United's defence at the moment. United look like they're just all over the place. So, like I said, I think I'll probably be targeting this fixture this week and look at bringing Son in, just because I'm getting a bit scared not to own him at this stage.
Yeah, Son is one of those fun players as well. He's just so awesome to watch. So it's like when you have him in your team, it's like, yeah, and the thing is, because he takes all the free kicks, corners, and so on. Those players like that, he shoots a lot, so they become bonus points magnets as well. So yeah.
It's just been announced that Salah actually wants to leave Liverpool.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wants to go to Spurs so that he could play United again this weekend.
Wow, just imagine. Wow, that threw me off. Wow, that would have, if you wanted me to end this recording right now, you give me real news like that, then I'll be like, you know what, Craig, good night. We'll resume this another time. Yeah. If that happened, then you get your triple captaincy chips ready for this week.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, and then look, I mean, Manchester United, what a surprise! Didn't expect that over there, but for now, I think, considering that even if this past weekend's result didn't happen, look, the fixtures are so poor anyway that they are no go at the moment, right?
Well, isn't it like it's quite an interesting, when you look at the state that United are in, and then you look at maybe for the past 5-6 weeks, from an FPL perspective, there's just no United asset that you want to own.
There's just not one. Yeah,
there's just not a single one, and we're sort of seeing it in their actual results. I mean, Ole is under huge pressure. I mean, I can't believe that he's surviving the week as it stands, and it sounds like he's going to be in charge on the weekend. So.
Well, they trusting the process. Ole is at the wheel. Okay, so yeah, but look, you know what? That was brutal, and. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over there, because there's a lot of players with high ceilings, good potential, but yeah, the performances just don't justify it at the moment.
Yeah, I think just a hard avoid at this stage. Really not showing any value at all from a player in a United shirt.
Yeah, and then on Sunday's fixtures, Norwich versus Leeds. So now I think there's supposedly a fixture swing for Norwich, which I don't know what that actually means for a club like Norwich, who have been so poor anyway, because their fixtures supposedly get better. But Leeds going over there, you think, okay, if you had somebody like Rafinha, who's now also another one in my starting lineup. So Mbeumo and Rafinha went off before 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So in my team from this past weekend, but then Rafinha, after the game, he posted that he was fit. He said he's fine, whatever. Which I don't trust players when they self-diagnose anyway, because they always want to play. So that will be one interesting one to look out to see if Rafinha is fit. But if he is, I mean, sure, you think that he'll be a nailed on starter in your first 11.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fixture for Leeds. I mean, anyone playing Norwich at the moment, you obviously want to have them in your team. And if Rafinha is fit, I mean, wait for the press conferences. Usually we get pretty good news from Bielsa. So I think if he's fit, you have to have him in. If he's not fit and he's ruled out, then make that change, because I don't think they don't exactly have the easiest run up coming. They've got Leicester, Spurs, Brighton.
And they've been quite poor anyway.
They've been quite poor.
Yeah.
Rafinha seems to have a niggly injury that he's carrying at the moment. He's only playing 60 odd minutes at best. I think, keep him for the Norwich fixture if he's fit. Otherwise, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing as well. I have to make some big decisions around him, because he's one of my favorites, I suppose. Every FPL manager has those favorites, those players that they want in their team, and he's one of those. But yeah, I might need to make a decision on him soon. And I suppose even Leeds' defense is so poor anyway that even if they're playing Norwich, I wouldn't trust them, so I won't even go there as well.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about when it comes to Norwich.
Yeah, and then Villa and West Ham. So Villa have had two, poor results over the last 2 weeks, and now first Wolves had a comeback win against them, and then they got really outplayed by Arsenal. And West Ham seem to be one of those teams. They're not going away. They're here to stay. And Antonio is the FPL legend. Is the gift that keeps on giving. So yeah. But you mentioned Leon Bailey earlier as well. Now, defensively, the fixtures were starting to look a little bit better for Villa, but we're not seeing that in numbers. What you make of them, of this fixture at the moment? Then?
Look, I think Villa have a decent run coming up. I think this fixture in particular there'll be some goals in it. I wouldn't be backing any of the defences in this fixture for sure. We spoke about Bailey. I think Watkins is another one from Villa that I think is pretty good value. So I'd be going with Bailey or Watkins. They've got a good run. They've got West Ham, Southampton, Brighton, Crystal Palace. I mean, that's not terrible. It's all sort of average fixtures.
Yeah.
If you pick a decent player for the right price, it's worthwhile.
Yeah, if you can get like a 5 million, 6 million player out of there, then you may be onto something.
Yeah, I think Bailey's the clear favourite. But it's just a question of whether he's going to be, whether he's fit enough to start games yet. He still lacks match fitness, so we'll have to wait on news about that. And then from West Ham, I think Antonio is just your set and forget. I've had a look at it and I considered, for the patch where he's got Liverpool, Wolves, City, Brighton, Chelsea, is he a guy that we should be pulling out and rotating out? And personally, I'm just going to keep him in my team. I think it's a crazy idea to get rid of a guy who's just scoring so many goals.
Yeah, and again, there's so many other players you could think of moving on anyway. That I don't. I mean, look at it again. I mentioned him earlier as the fact that he was one of the players who returned for me. It's just one of those where he's so reliable. Where at that price, you don't really need a player. You need him to really be hauling double digits every week. The way his rate of returns at the moment is kind of like exactly what you expect, and it's been working out really well so far.
Yeah, exactly. Keep Antonio, and there's no one. Cresswell, I think when the fixtures improve, I think Cresswell will be a decent pick from the West Ham defence. But for the moment, I think it's only Antonio that I'm looking at.
Yeah. And then last one on a Monday night, man, I hate these, the Monday night fixtures, Wolves versus Everton. Now Everton just fresh off a hiding the other day, and then Wolves, they've been doing all right for themselves. They've been quite resurgent, but for me specifically, I've had Raul Jimenez now for a while. But yet Huang scoring all the goals. What's going on there, man?
Yeah, Jimenez has turned into the sort of creator role, and it's a decent partnership that they've got going on. It really looks good. Huang is someone that I strongly considered on my wild card. He was in probably 90% of my drafts, just because he's just amazing value. But I just don't see Wolves scoring enough goals, to really justify having a Wolves attacker at the moment. So for me, I've sort of avoided them. But this fixture in particular against Everton, I mean, Everton have just had 5 put past them. I would imagine that Benitez is going to tighten things up considerably.
That's what Rafa does. He gets spooked and then he goes ultra defensive.
Tighten the screws. And already, even before that sort of mindset, this was the absolute snooze fest fixture of the week at the lowest goals expected. So I think that's pretty much what we're going to see. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. And I wouldn't really want to be owning players from either team at this point in my FPL team.
Yeah, I like I said, I moved size on last week, and then to Chilwell, which you can imagine that was a great transfer for me. And I definitely have Jimenez on my exit list sometime soon, because even at that, not that I'm, like I said, worried about price because I have money in the bank, But I feel like there's so much value out there, better fixture runs to target and so on, that I could do better at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, wow. That was, quite amazing week that we just witnessed. Like I said, earlier, the second highest scoring week, game week this season after game week 1. So yeah, it's still following quite an interesting trend of very high scoring game weeks this whole season, because I don't think I've ever seen a case where like you get more 50 and 60 point weeks than you get your 40s and so on. But it will be interesting to see now how this week shapes up. And yeah, good luck to everybody, and hopefully 2 more points this coming week.
Yeah, good luck everyone with your captain Mo Salah, and Clyde, good luck to your team.
May I not break any players this week again.
Please don't select any players that I have in my team, because I need my guys fit. And enjoy the footy this weekend.
Awesome, man. Cheers, everyone.